Support for this program provided by...
Hello folks, it's the start of another work week. Hope you had a nice weekend. And it's time for me to ask you, what are you doing? I'm your host, Chad Stanton, and on this show, it's not about me, but it's about you and what you're making in your shop. This is a place that we try to inspire, encourage, and promote woodworking and completing the projects that we start. Now, last week was a holiday weekend, so I'm sure a lot of people were barbecuing and having family and friends over. So I didn't get a whole lot of entries this week. But regardless of that, we're going to go on with the show. And starting us off today is Paul Bylin. Now, Paul has been on the show before, and Paul seems to enjoy turning. So he made for us this week this dish, and he said it's made out of Norfolk pine. And I'm not sure what Paul puts in these dishes. I know he probably doesn't eat off them, but I'm sure his wife probably finds some nice things to display in it and put it all over. Most of you know that I'm not very good at turning. I only do turning as the job requires it. So maybe I should start going to Paul for some inspiration and some lessons. But either way, it looks really good, Paul. And I noticed there in the background is one of your boxes that you made with the dovetail joints on it. Now that I'm comfortable doing. Philip Quinn. Philip Quinn was making this chest for a gift. And last week he had it just about done. Here it is all completed with the finish on it. Really looks nice. I like the arch top to it. And Philip made this for a gift for a doctor because he had a small accident where he cut the tips of his fingers. But apparently the doctor did a really good job because we can see Philip is back working and making beautiful projects. And so congratulations, Philip, on completing that project, and we look forward to what the next one is going to be from you. Okay, we're going to go down to Australia where Peter Compton has this entry. Peter watched my rosette video a few weeks, maybe a month back, and decided to do a little bit of carving. Now, he didn't do the same rosette. He did like this flower here, and he made it for his daughter. And I didn't catch what wood it was that he carved it in, but the frame he said was red gum. And he said it's a really hard wood. And I know in Australia and different parts of the world they have different species of wood, so I am totally unfamiliar with that. But anyhow, it looks really nice. And I'm sure, Peter, as you continue doing more and more carvings, you'll see yourself improve. And it'll be nice to reflect back because your daughter has your first one there. And you'll be able to chart and see your growth from it. So nice job. Saul Penilla. Now, Saul is making a wedding gift. And last week he just had the boards and he hand planed them and joined them together. And what Saul is making is the 10 Commandments as a wedding gift, and I had asked him, how he was going to do it. I thought maybe, because he said he's fairly new to woodworking, I thought maybe he was going to stencil them on or, somehow print them onto the board. I didn't know maybe if he had access to a CNC machine. But no, Saul says he's going to carve all of that into the boards. And I'm sure by the time Saul is done doing all 10 commandments, he will be a professional at carving. Maybe he'll have to add that 11th commandment down there. Thou shalt not do any more cursing while carving. So, anyhow, keep us up to date on how it's going there, Saul. Donald Dean. Donald got a table saw not too long ago. I think he said he got it as a birthday gift from his wife. And so he's making an outfeed table. And what's kind of cool is for a while, Donald has been looking online and magazines and books. He's been looking at all the different outfeed tables that were made. and decided to take little features off of them and combine it to make his perfect outfeed table. So that's pretty cool to be able to, get inspired by another picture or another project that someone did and either improve it or tweak it and tailor it so it's just right for your needs. So that's great there, Donald, and I'll be curious to see it all done and in action for you. And of course that means now you're going to have to make new projects because you have that outfeed table helping you. Brad Soulchin. Now, if you recall, Brad is building a big bookcase, and I think he said it's for a customer. I believe so. And Brad is at the staining point with it, and I have to admit, besides sanding, I hate doing the finish part. And Brad recently has bought an HVLP spray gun, and he was saying how he loves it. He'll never go back to brushing. And I have to agree with him that an HVLP spray gun makes things so much easier. And because it's a high volume, low pressure gun, it doesn't give you a big foggy mess when you're spraying. It reduces a lot of that overspray. And in my new shop, I'm going to have a designated spray booth for doing that, because here typically what I would have to do is, cover everything and sweep it all up. So, but Brad took his outside, and because his project is so big, he ran out of sawhorses to put the pieces on. So he had to improvise and use his pickup truck here to make that as a drying rack. But anyhow, Brad's going to be real close to assembling and building this. I think he has to assemble it on site where the customer is. So I'm anxious to see how it looks, Brad. Bill Crispin. Bill has been working on his kitchen slowly, over a period of time. And I just love the look of this kitchen. I love the doors. It's kind of different. I think he used the rice paper type of look to it. I love the two tones. See, look at the drawers. The drawers are darker than the rest of the cabinet, and then of course the tile on the backsplash really adds to it. I think the whole thing looks great, and so he's just keeping us up to date as he continues to get each stuff done. But I really want to say thank you to Bill, because Bill's been watching the show, and he's been following the fact that I'm building my new shop. And I really feel the pressure coming on, because I wanted to be a little bit further along with the shop and having it done, and the leaves are starting to fall. And once the snow falls, I got to have my tools in there, because it kind of sits back on the property. If the snow falls, I will not get the tools in. And Bill was so kind, he offered to fly from California to Ohio for a week and help me out. And I was so touched by that. I mean, it just goes to show how kind all you viewers are out there. And I did decline only because my schedule is so crazy. I was fighting a cold. I was helping Les. Les is not doing good at all. And so I'm kind of all over the place. I had 2 estimates this week, and I just felt like if I had someone new here, that I should be spending time with them instead of all this other stuff. But I'm sure Bill we'll get together in the near future here and hang out and have a good time. But thank you so much. William Cortez. Now, William doesn't really have a project to show us, but William is starting to purchase some hand planes. And you all know that I just love hand planes. So he's got, it looks like a Stanley 9.5 little block plane. Sweet little plane. That's the one that I use, that I grab for. It's a great plane. Looks like that's a Stanley 8 joiner there, the big long one. I have one. I really don't use it a whole lot. I've got a couple of long, I think 30 or 32 inch joiner plane that I'll use. And he's got a Miller's Falls number 9. Excellent, excellent choice in a smoothing plane. That's my favorite as well. And then, of course, he's got a couple of wooden planes here. Looks like they need some restoring on it. But anyhow, William, I think you're going to have a great time restoring those, tuning them up, and using them. And when it makes those thin shavings, there's nothing sweeter. Oh, let's see here. We got Michael Housel. Now, Michael said last week that he's fairly new to woodworking, and he doesn't really have access to some high-quality wood. So he's building a bathroom cabinet out of plywood. And, you know, as I mentioned, that's tough to do because plywood is not always the greatest grade of lumber. So you got a lot of twists, you got a lot of warp, you got a lot of knots, and he's having to deal with that to join the boards and construct it. So I think it's actually going to make him a better woodworker in the long run. He did have a few problems. He said some of the knots in it were so hard that it chipped the blade on his joiner. So that kind of slowed him down a little bit. You know, these things happen. It happens to all of us. And it usually happens at the worst time, like when you really need to get something done. Boom, it breaks. I had last year the belt on my table saw broke, and I couldn't find anything anywhere that would fit it because it was really small. Wound up going to like a lawnmower and snowblower place, and they had one. It was a tad smaller, but I was able to get it on. I was back in action. But, you know, these things happen to all of us, so don't feel too bad about that, Michael. Mr. Moe. Now, I owe an apology to Mr. Moe because he sent these photos in last week, and I just, somehow I got them lost in everything. But regardless, he's making these two small boxes. It looks like he's got a box joint there on the corners. And these are going to be Christmas gifts for his wife's sister, his sister-in-law. And he lined the bottom of the box with some cork because I guess his wife has bought earrings for the sister-in-law. And that way, I guess the earrings can pierce right into the cork so they're not falling all about. I think that was a pretty clever idea. I also think that he's probably the only one who's starting to do his Christmas gifts this early. Most people probably wait till like the night before, but anyhow, Mr. Moe is on top of it. It's looking good. Hope we didn't let the cat out of the bag. Hope your sister-in-law doesn't watch this show. Probably not. But anyhow, I'm sure she's going to love it. Holly Smith. Now, Holly is a talented gal. She's done some impressive woodworking. Surprisingly, she says she's fairly new to woodworking. When I was looking at her stuff online, I was really impressed. She's got a real knack for detail. And her husband has got a collection of Indian arrowheads that I guess was, I think she said it was his grandfather's. So she decided to make a display case for him, and you know, here it is, partially in action. I think it's almost done there. And of course she did the dovetails on it, so nice job on that, Holly. And I'm curious to see it all done and hanging up on the wall. Maybe we could get you and your husband standing next to it, or maybe a photo of the grandfather that your husband got the stuff from. Anyhow, very nice and very good work there. Frank Porter. Frank sent in a couple of things, and normally I just take one project per viewer, but since we have some extra time this week, I decided to do two. So Frank is showing here the shaker box that he did, and I make a lot of those shaker boxes myself. In fact, that's one of the classes that I teach using all hand tools. But what I liked on Frank's there was he's got that little miter trim that goes on the end of the lid. So when it's closed, it looks like it's completely housed all the way around. That's pretty cool. His other project that he sent in was this quilt rack. I believe he said he made it for his granddaughter. And what Frank did on this is got the through mortise and tenon, and then it's wedged on the other side, which makes for a very strong joint. And he said it was a little nerve-wracking because you don't want it to come out in the wrong place, and you want it to fit tight, but not too tight. And I mean, I get it, but taking your time to do all that and do the extra step of putting the wedge in it, because you could have just glued it and called it done. Or, you could have even just did pocket holes. You took the next step up to make yourself a better woodworker. And as intense as it might have been for you, it looks great. And that's what the show is all about. It's not about judging anyone. It's not about looking down on the person that does use pocket screws and, oh, that guy is too good. I can't send my stuff in. No, it's all about trying to improve. At any level, wherever you're at, we should always get out of our comfort zone and try to improve. So that was it for this week. Like I said, it was a short week. Maybe we'll get some new entries in this week, or maybe people are just getting tired of the show. But at any rate, I want to thank you, and if you would like to have your stuff on, feel free to email me at woodchoppingtime@gmail.com, and I will get your pictures on here. We'll talk about it, we'll share it with others and inspire folks and get people to come into this craft that we all so dearly love. So as always, thank you for tuning in, thank you for writing me, and we'll see you right back here on Wednesday for another edition of After Hours Woodworking. Until then, keep on dancing.